Good morning. This is Robert Goodman here on Positive Strokes, Staying Clean. And I'm so happy that you are here. And we're all about recovery. Yes, indeed. And my last video, I shared with you why I do what I do. And the reason that I'm so adamant, reason why I'm so dedicated, reason why I'm so involved in doing what I do to help others in recovery is because I was duped for 40 years. My addiction conned me, manipulated me into doing things I should not have done. And I'm not mad at nobody else. I'm mad at myself. I'm upset with myself because I did this to myself. And how I recognize this is because of recovery. Because people like me went through exactly what I went through, was willing to share their hopes, their failures, their pain with me. That I can identify with them and understanding that I am not alone in this addiction, that there are many people like me. And the next thing I would think about is, why would you want everybody to know all that stuff that you did to yourself and the relationships you destroyed? Don't you want to keep that a secret? And this gentleman, he came to the in-house program of recovery, and he was sharing his journey in recovery. And he said, I am as sick as my secrets. Why? Because I'm an addict. And that's addictive behavior. I can't do that. Also, by me sharing my pain and my walk, I hold myself accountable for my actions. Then he said something else. He said, the reason why I come and I share my pain, my truth, my walk with you is because somebody did that for me and gave me a life way beyond I was experienced in my addiction. Something came over me. I realized that I'm as sick as my secrets. Then I started doing some research on me, going back in my mind and my past actions. And I realized how much work I did to keep things a secret that I made mistakes on, that I knew I was the fault, but I tried to hide that so much that caused me to create more problems and more problems and more bad situations. When the program of recovery says just do the next right thing, I kind of understood why it said that. Because my thinking is still addictive. It's not grounded and rooted in recovery yet. I still have addictive behavior. I still have addictive thoughts because I haven't worked through some things. So I remember I was at a meeting and this female shared her pain. And when she shared her pain, tears came to my eyes because of what happened to her. And right then and there, I wanted to help. Not just her, but everybody that was suffering. What can I do? I want to help, but I don't know what to do. I kept working the program of recovery on myself. I worked the 12-step program. I continually to do what I needed to do to make me better. And the more I got clean and sober, the more I got connected with peer support. That's right. I took a class on peer support and I graduated. I knew some people that went into teaching peer support after they took the course and took another course to teach it, and that's what they did. People that I knew. But I wanted to help people that was like me suffering in addiction. Because I suffered for 40 years. And that was my hell. I was caught in a progressive illness in my hell of using and abusing. Oh yeah, I'll share that I've had 25 years worth of no problem using and abusing. But the point was that I'm trying to make is that I lived in a fake world, a world that I created of my own making. And the people in my world love dope. And since I had dope, if I said the sky was green, they said, Robert, you're absolutely right. Let's do a hit and really feel good. So in my recovery, I realized that I kept myself in a total prison because I had so much dope that I didn't run out. I just didn't use it all the time until I used it all the time. Until I couldn't handle the pressures of life. And I would medicate myself because I never learned how to deal with disappointment, trauma, mistakes. But I was a professional on stuffing it and not dealing with the situation until it would come back and live rent-free in my head and cause me even more pain each time it came back. So being in addiction for 40 years, I said, I don't want nobody to suffer like I suffered. Because as I did the research on Robert, I seen how messed up Robert was. I seen how crazy his life was. And I can't sit and tell you some of the crazy things that I did because it would hurt me and others. But I lived a bad life through addiction. So as I got well in the program of recovery, as I was taught by those who came before me, as I listened to the stories and the information that my recovering brothers and sisters gave to me, see, it didn't matter if it was a woman giving me a story or a man giving me a story. I listened. I tried to look it through their eyes in my eyes to understand. And I could feel their pain. And these people, to me, was my family. Because we had one thing in common: addiction. Another thing we had in common: trying to stop using and abusing. To hold each other accountable, to be supportive to each other so we don't pick up and use. You know, I remember when I started my channel, I think it was about 3 years ago on YouTube, and after my first 6 months, this gentleman contacted me on my email. And he told me, he says, "Don't you think that's really stupid that you share the stupid things that you've done to the public? That you're embarrassing people that know you? That people will look at your family differently because of the things that you've done, and you're telling everybody you're a dope fiend?" You know what I said to him? I said, "I lived in active addiction for 40 years. I suffered through the pain of addiction for 40 years. Strangers that I don't even know shared their pain with me publicly and told me I was not alone, that together we can make it. And my life has gotten better. So I really don't care what other people think, because that's their choice to think what they want to think. If they want to look at my mistakes and let that be their forefront of throwing mud at me or looking down at me or telling people that I ain't worth nothing, that's their choice. But recovery has given me a new way of life. It helped me deal with my past trauma that happened to me when I was young. It allowed me to move forward, to grow, and to be strong in recovery. So everything that has happened to me in my recovery was for the betterment of me, for me to enjoy life and live life on life's terms. And recovery has given me that. Recovery has given me a beautiful wife. I mean, I can't even see myself not living without her, because it's just so perfect. I mean, our lives, as far as me and her are together, we don't have issues. We have situations. We don't have issues. Well, because we accept each other for who they are. We don't try to change nobody. We love each other for the way we are. And we work on each other to build a better life, and we work on ourselves to make ourselves better. Because we know we're imperfect. I know I'm imperfect because I lived in active addiction and I duped myself for 40 years. And then I like the statement that the Bible says, "You without sin cast the first stone." Meaning, if you you have made a mistake in your life, so why are you going to judge another person because you've made mistakes in your life? You made bad decisions. You made bad choices. But the question is, how are you helping yourself if you're muddying somebody else's waters? How are you helping a person when you're putting them down for their past mistakes? How's that benefiting you? It's not. It just lets people know that you have an issue with that person for you to throw mud like that. So they are living rent free in your head, causing you to give them more attention than they truly need, where that attention should be brought back on yourself. Because I work on myself, and that's a full-time job. Why? Because I'm a faulty person. I make mistakes. So I need to work on myself. I learned in living that when people throw mud at another human being, they don't want you to look at what they're doing with their lives. How do I know that? I used to be assistant plant manager. And you know, and I was dealt with production because everything was about production, producing. And I get the stats every day about how much we produce. And then I listen to the stories and the things that people tell me that work under me. And I always hear, well, Charlie, he don't be doing the work. I got to do all his work and blah, 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 blah. Or we should do it this way because this way is not working. You don't know what you're talking about. We're on the front lines. And I used to tell people, I called a meeting and I said, do anybody in here owns this company? They said, no. You all work for the person who owns that company, right? Yes. Yes. And they have a vision of the way they want to do things. Yes. They hired you to do a job. Yes. Then what's the problem? Do what you're supposed to do. If the owner makes a bad choice, it's his stuff. It's his mistake. He has that right because it's his. It's not yours. And then I said, why are you spending all the attention talking about people not doing their job? That means you're not doing your job because you're paying attention to what people are not doing. So not only they're not doing your job, you're not doing the job either. If everybody just do what they're required to do, everything works out well. So I had to make a mandate that I had everybody sign. Everybody has to learn to work together and follow the rules and regulations that the owner wants done. Not to be questioned, to be done. Because it's his business. And if you do not want to stand by what he wants done, then you might as well find yourself a new job. If you cause conflict where we can't work together, you get 3 days off. And I have them sign a contract for that. And the first week, there were people that tried it and got 3 days off, and I did it where you get 2 off for 1 week and you get 1 off the next week. Because if I hurt you with your money and you're serious about making money, you'll change your behavior. But if you don't care, you'll continue to do the same thing, even though you lost a lot of money. And then I started to see that it was like cats and dogs, just fighting over a whole lot of things that didn't make a bit of sense. But everybody's trying to either look good for management, look good for their boss, or trying to climb the ladder and be cutthroat with each other. Why can't we just get along? Why can't we just work together? We're more powerful if we work together. So after all this conflict and all these things that went on, about 2 months down the road, after people getting terminated, people getting 3 days off, everybody started doing what was needed to be done. And we ran at 85% at all times. We went from 65% to 85% at all times. We went up 20% in our production. I'm sharing this to let you know that people that have been through a situation have information to help somebody else going through the same thing. I climbed the ladder on that job. I was at the bottom and worked my way to that position in the company. Why? Because I was willing to learn. I was willing to listen. Even though I didn't agree with a lot of things, I did it the way they wanted it to be done because it's their business, not mine. I use the same philosophy in recovery. I know about active addiction. I know about addiction. I know how to get high. I know how to manipulate. I know how to steal. I know how to con. I know how to do all that. I know how to hurt people. I know how to do all that. I'm an expert at that. But I'm not an expert on living in recovery. I'm not. So why should I not pay attention to those who came before me in recovery? These people shared their strength and their hopes and their truths with me. Their pain, how they overcame situations. And I didn't want nobody to suffer for 40 years like I did, so I got into peer support. Now, since I'm in peer support, you have no idea of the amount of times I've shed tears of listening to the pain of others, because their story is unbelievable. The more I hear of my fellow addicts in recovery, their pain and their suffering, the more I want to help. I don't care what people think about me. I've been talked about ever since I've been young. I've been talked about negative all my life. I don't have what a lot of people have. What I have is my recovery, my peace of mind, and my inner peace, which allows me to sleep well at night, to be happy on the inside as well as the out, to feel good when someone tells me, Robert, your video really helped me. I appreciate you. Thank you. That warms my heart because I'm helping somebody in recovery, like I was helped in recovery. And also, by me being a peer support, I keep myself at check. Oh, yes, because I need to pay attention to myself. Why? Because my act of addiction kept me in my addiction for 40 years. I duped, conned, manipulated myself. Have you conned and manipulated yourself? If you think about it, we all have at some point in our lives. And then when we realize that we duped ourselves by making a bad choice, we change our behavior. Some of us do. But do you try to hide your mistake because you don't want nobody to know that you got played or you played yourself? Or you did something to somebody and you really don't want them to know, so you give them excuses instead of saying, I'm sorry? So the point I'm trying to make and to drive home is that the reason why I got into peer support, the reason why I'm on social media, the reason why I talk about recovery is because it saved my life. It's given me a better life. So I want you to have a good life like I have a good life. And the only way you can have a good life is you keep the focus on yourself and work on not making a whole lot of bad decisions with your life. You have to find your way. It's your life. You know what works for you and you know what doesn't work for you. But you have a choice to do the right thing or the wrong thing. But it's entirely up to you. You know, I say, I do what I have to so I can do what I want. I do what I have to so I can do what I want. That means you have to do the things that are right. You have to do the next right thing. You got to make better choices so you can do what you want, so you can go after your dream, so you can go after your goal, so you can achieve the things that you want to achieve in your life, to live the life that you choose, that you want to live for the rest of your life. And you can't get there if you're not paying attention to yourself and making good choices. You can use all the excuses in the world and it'll be okay, but you're not going to get nowhere. But you have to do the work. You have to do it. You have to motivate yourself. You have to get up and do what you need to do. Because if you don't, it doesn't get done. I hope what I share with you today will make you think. One point I hope that I make clear is when a person comes from addiction into recovery and share their truth with you, their pain, what they've experienced, where something had the grip of them, destroying them, and they shared it with you, ask yourself this. Is the pain that they're sharing valid for me to discredit them, put them down, talk about them like they're worthless? Or is it a means to learn not to make that mistake? That what they've experienced was devastating, destroyed parts of their lives that they will never get back. That they're willing to share that so others don't fall victim like they did. My hats are off to you that share your pain. My hats are off to you that you contact people on social media and you share your truth with them. You are a hero to yourself and others, because when people reach out to you about recovery, asking your opinion, your walk means they're searching for an answer to help themselves get through something that they're having a problem with. You have the ability to help. So if you are happy that you're a recovering addict, get into peer support, because the more people that support people in recovery means there'll be more people that will make it through recovery. Because together we can, by ourselves we cannot. People that think they can do recovery by themselves end up picking up most of the time, 90% of the time. It takes a village to stay clean and sober. Just like it takes a village to bring up a child. Not only the child is brought up by the mother and the father, but also the grandmother, the aunt, the uncle, the cousin, all that contributes to the growth of that child. Just like for a person to stay clean and sober, it needs everyone connected to recovery to help us live joyous and free. This is Robert Goodman wishing you a great Friday, and I will see you tomorrow. Remember, if you keep the focus on yourself and be proud that you're a recovering addict, then no one or nothing will stand in your way of living your best life. You have a great day.